And welcome back to another episode of Casey Campbell's Videocast. Of course, I'm Casey Campbell from Great Lakes Post, and joining me right now is Davey Segal from Front Stretch, as well as NBC Washington for all of you in the DC area. Davey, how are you, man?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. We worked out our technological gremlins and we're back at it.
Yes. As we got into before all the technical stuff happened, NASCAR is back. Sunday, we got a little bit of a taste of it. What was it like to just have, some form of, normal or like back in ancient times, like a few months ago?
Yeah. Like you said, I think it was normal and it was just fun. Like a lot of people have been starving for live sports and we're among them, specifically NASCAR. And I think when they announced that they were planning to return on May 17th, that was in late April, I think April 30th. I for one, was a bit skeptical because they weren't going to be doing any COVID-19 testing. So I was thinking to myself, it's great that they're coming back, but how are they going to know who has it and who doesn't? Because the statistics say, like, out of 1,000 people that are there, like, somebody has it, right? So I was a little skeptical, and I wrote about that for Front Stretch on my Fire on Fridays column. But considering the circumstances and the fact that they didn't have testing, they had no fans, they were kind of the only show in town when it comes to television and live sports, all the protocols that were put in place, I think everything went really, really smooth, almost flawlessly. And I was really surprised by that because NASCAR has a track record of not having things go flawlessly in their way, but they did their homework. They did their due diligence. Everybody complied. Steve O'Donnell said there were no problems with people wearing masks, which were mandatory in the garage area. There was only one instance of spotters being a little too close on the roof, and he told them to spread out, and they did immediately. So everybody followed the rules, followed the guidelines, and got back to work and got some cash flow back into the sport, which is, at the end of the day, why they had to come back.
Yeah. When you got these midweek races coming up, could be one tonight, one Wednesday, but or we could have it on Thursday if it decides to rain, which it likely will. What do you think about these midweek races? They may happen, they may not happen, but you never know. What do you think about these midweek races and what NASCAR has done with these 7 races in 11 days?
I think it's going to be good because everybody's been clamoring for midweek races for a couple years now. And I think before coronavirus happened, it was going to be around now when we were going to be seeing what the 2021 schedule was going to look like. And I would anticipate that there would be some midweek races on there. Now, this kind of is a blessing in disguise in terms of the scheduling aspect for NASCAR because it gives them a chance to experiment a little bit and see what works, see what doesn't, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. I think that there's no harm in trying these midweek races and seeing if they work. And frankly, you kind of have to just to make up for lost time because there hasn't been 6, 7, something like that races. And you got to make them up as quickly as possible, but not overwork the teams, overwork the drivers, overwork everybody in the industry, from the hauler drivers to the PR reps back at the shop to the drivers who are behind the wheel of their race cars. So midweek races are going to be fun. We've seen a couple of them on iRacing, but that's not anything near the real thing. And the Truck Series has raced before on Thursday night, but it's not a Tuesday or a Wednesday show. So I think it's going to be a very good test. The only thing that's not going to be kind of applicable to when things are back to quote unquote normal is that there's not going to be any fans in the stands, of course. And that's obviously a big talking point because when races are on the weekends, fans are off of work, they can go to the race. But if it's on a weeknight, you would have to rely heavily on the local crowd. Let's say, for example, you had a midweek race at Michigan. Let's just say, for example, you're not going to get a lot of people commuting from Chicago to Michigan to Brooklyn for a Wednesday night race, but you'll get a lot of people in Michigan and the surrounding areas, whether that's Lansing, Ann Arbor, Detroit, Jackson, what have you, that are going to probably head over there for that race because it's still a big spectacle and it's still a big event. But at the same time, it's considered kind of like a thing to do at night instead of this huge thing commitment over the weekend. So it's going to be interesting how they kind of navigate that now and how it can play out moving forward.
Just to let you know, Davey, Michigan does not have any lights at the racetrack.
I know, I know. I realized that as I was going through the example. Michigan is one of the only tracks I think that doesn't, because what Michigan doesn't, Indianapolis doesn't, Pocono doesn't,
Yeah,
Talladega doesn't. So yeah, in that example, it wouldn't be a night race, but you know what I'm saying.
I know. It was a Bob Pockrass moment or something.
Yeah,
Um, we have all the, a lot of drivers, talked about, everybody followed it was a little weird seeing, drivers in sunglasses and face coverings. So basically you saw every driver had their entire face covered, whether it was sunglasses or, and then, the thing over their nose and mouth. Was that a little weird watching all them having everything?
yeah, but at the same time, like that's normal. That's what we got to do. So if I have to see a driver climb out in victory lane with no confetti, no liquid celebration, none of his team members around him or her, wearing a mask, posing with the trophy in order to get live sports back, fine by me. Like I'll do that gladly. And I've seen some trolls or people on Twitter that are saying, "Oh, I don't want to watch if there's no fans," or "This is crazy that they're doing this." Like, you people do realize the alternative to this is nothing at all. So
Right.
like, and I get that's the small minority, but it just kind of blows my mind that people are thinking that way. But I mean, that's what we're gonna see when basketball, football, hockey, hopefully all those sports come back relatively soon. Like, that's what we're going to see, whether they're in kind of a bubble like at Disney World or in Orlando or in Vegas, whatever. You're not going to be wearing masks while you're actually competing in the contest, but walking into the stadium, walking into the arena, maybe even in the locker room. I don't know. Like, masks are going to become a thing. I mean, they already are a thing, and we're going to have to get used to seeing our athletes wearing them, because that's just the situation we're in.
Yeah. We have one series we really have not heard about is Arca. What have you heard anything of what they're going to do? I know they're going to be back at Talladega, but talking about the support series, like for East and West, is there any leads on that or?
Yeah, it's a big question mark, because there's a bunch of different things that personally I'm not exactly 100% clear about when it comes to sanctioning agreements for ARCA and their specific tracks, and the things that they rely on with the gate revenue compared to the national series and the television rights with Fox and Mav TV, and track passes into it all now. So there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to the ARCA Menard series, whether that's the main series, East or West. I do know that I think the West series is going to be a bit of a question mark in terms of what that's going to look like, because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think out of the 11 races, 4 or 5 of them were scheduled to be in the state of California. You got Irwindale, you got Sonoma, which their weekend has been canceled already, Kern County, All American Speedway in Roseville, and you may have another that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. So, and California is one of the hardest hits, and they seem to be pretty much on lockdown right now in terms of COVID-19. So I'm curious to see what's going on with the ARCA Menard Series West. I do know that the people that I've talked to say that ARCA and Ron Drager and everybody over there is committed to getting all 20 ARCA Menard Series races in this season in some shape, form, or fashion. So all we know right now is that Talladega is going to be their first race back. They're going to have no fans there. It's going to be on television, which is good. But other than that, we don't know much, at least I don't, about the Menard Series, East or West. But I do know that I think East and West are going to probably have a harder time to get restarted quickly and in the way that they would like, compared to the ARCA Menard Series, because more money is involved in that, more drivers are involved in that, and there's a lot of more moving parts that are frankly more important to the sanctioning body with that specific series. But they're going to do everything in their power to get everything restarted as best as possible. I mean, Meridian Speedway, a track in Idaho that's on the West schedule for the past few years, they've been having local races there with no fans, but there's a super late model show. There were some local divisions there. So there's the capability to have racing at these local short tracks. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah. So let's get into the Tuesday, the Wednesday show with with the Cup Series. We saw it was kind of up and down. Hendrick first dominated, then what happened with Jimmy Johnson, William Byron, and then you kind of saw that guys were coming up to the front, like Chevrolet was strong. Ford was up there. Toyota was kind of up there, but there were some surprises. Like, I know Truex struggled throughout the day. Kyle Busch was, I don't know where he could have been. I mean, I know he had to start from the back, but he really didn't, thought to go to the front like I thought he would. What's going to happen on Wednesday, and who do you see? And it could be a lot more aggressive than Sunday's race was.
I'm very excited for Wednesday because, like you said, Sunday had a ton of storylines. You had Jimmy Johnson, who was going to win the stage, his third ever stage win, and he crashes at the end of it. And I literally audibly was like sad. I was like, oh no, Jimmy, like, oh. So yeah, that happened. And Hendrick was looking unreal at that point because I think they were 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So then you have William Byron wins that stage. Then he wrecks because of a loose wheel at the start of the second stage. Martin Truex Jr. started up front, fell back like a rock. James Small, his crew chief, adjusted on it, and he was back up there. He started on the front row, and I think he was second at one point. Alex Bowman winds up finishing runner-up for Hendrick, so the speed is still there for the organization. Chase Elliott had a pretty good day as well. Tyler Reddick and Kyle Busch were guys that made their way up to the front after starting towards the rear, fell back. Kyle Busch, because I believe it was a loose lug nut or a loose wheel, something to that nature. And Tyler Reddick was a speeding penalty. Reddick ripped the top, came all the way back, and John Hunter Nemechek also got a top 10 finish. I think the first top 10 finish for Front Row Motorsports at a non-super speedway track in 3 years, I believe. So there was a ton of stuff to sift through. Plus, by the way, Kevin Harvick whooped him and got his 50th career win, which is a milestone in and of itself. It was a lot to digest after no racing for 71 days, that's for sure. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it Wednesday. I mean, Hendrick's going to still be fast. Toyota still is going to be fast. What's happening with Christopher Bell? Like, when is he going to get out of his funk over at Levine Family Racing? Ford has 7 of the top 10 drivers in the standings right now. Are they going to be able to keep up that momentum? Brad Keselowski had a really good run, won stage 2. Is he going to be a threat for the win? Denny Hamlin as well. I don't know what's going to happen, but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Did you notice that Matt Kenseth was back? The Ganassi cars are pretty strong too. Like, Kurt Busch was another one that was, mid-pack. I had his scanner on for, I think, a part of the race. And then you saw Matt Kenseth come back. And then he, with no practice or qualifying and didn't even race in 2019, he comes out with a good finish. And then Ryan Newman's back.
Exactly. Like, I mentioned all that stuff, and I didn't even mention Kenseth or Newman. Like, that's how much stuff is going on. Jeff Gluck had a tweet towards the end of the race, and he basically was like, I just still think it's crazy that Matt Kenseth, hasn't raced in over a year, and he just comes in like it's nothing at Darlington of all places, never running this package, and he's running in the top 10. Like, how does he do that? And then Dale Jr. replied, he goes, he's pretty good at this, Jeff. And I was like, I was on Jeff's side because, like, yeah, we know he's good. He's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's a champion in the sport, but he won that championship 17 years ago. And the fact that he's still getting it done now, I get that he's in really good equipment, but he's pretty far removed from driving race cars, but he's in shape, and that was a really, really fun sight to see. And same with Ryan Newman, just the fact that the dude is racing again he called himself a walking miracle, and there's not more real else that you can say there. So seeing Newman and Kenseth on the track at the same time again, it took me back to like 2002 and 2003 when those guys were running up front and winning races all the time.
Yeah. Xfinity Series Tuesday night. If it happens, who do you think is going to be strong?
I probably lean towards the veterans. I'm going to be looking at Justin Allgaier just because he's one of the older guys in the series. He's raced at Darlington a handful of times, not only in the Xfinity car, but also in the Cup Series car. So track time and seat time is very valuable anywhere you go, especially at Darlington, especially after a long layoff, especially with no practice and no qualifying. And he's got a good hot rod under him from Junior Motorsports. So I'll be looking at him. Noah Gragson starting on the pole, his teammate over there. So he's going to be one to watch as well. Keep your eye on Ryan Sieg, though. He had a pretty good start to the year. It seems like forever ago because it was. But he's with one of those teams that's a mom-and-pop type operation, but he does have some funding from specific entities. And he's been one of those guys that, started as like a borderline starting Parker, then moved his way up, got some top 20 finishes. last year had some top tens and then even threatened for the win a couple times. And this year he's been running pretty solid as well. So Ryan Sieg maybe as a dark horse. Who knows if it's going to come down to fuel strategy or tire strategy, whatever. So, but if you had to make me pick somebody, I'd probably lean towards Allgaier just because I think he's a veteran and he's probably going to be running up front.
Did you forget Kyle Busch is in the field?
Yep, I did. I did, but I'm actually looking at something right now because I was on J-Ski and I saw that his he's running an M&M's car in Xfinity for the first time, I think, ever.
Yeah, he's I think all 7 of these 7 races in 11 days.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm kind of part of me is sad that he didn't win on Sunday because I wanted him to go 7 for 7 and just flex on him like that. I was a Kyle Busch hater when I was still kind of in fanboy mode. But as I got more transitioning into media and started to kind of appreciate his talent, and he gets a bad rap with the press because everybody says he's always so pissy, and he is. But I think I was having this conversation with Nate Ryan or something. Something about Kyle Busch, he answers every question that you ask him. Whether or not he's pissed off, he's happy, maybe he won't elaborate, but he will answer it. If it's one word, he still will answer it. He's not going to beat around the bush. Most likely, besides that one time when he was just there so he wouldn't get fined.
Yeah.
But yes, I did forget Kyle Busch is in the field, so thank you for that. Kyle Busch will win.
Well, you never know. I mean, we all thought Kyle Busch would win in Phoenix, and then Brandon Jones comes up and wins.
Yeah. Well, in terms of Xfinity regulars, I'll lean Allgaier, but Kyle Busch is obviously the betting favorite.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's starting 26, so we'll have to see how that goes.
I think he'll be in the top 5 by lap 30.
Okay. All right.
We'll see.
All right. When the trucks, and last question, we didn't talk about trucks just yet. Well, next Tuesday they'll be in Charlotte. What do you think about that? Who's gonna be strong there? Remember, Kyle Busch is in the field. Just
yes. Thank you for the reminder. I will go Kyle Busch for the win. But besides that, I'm interested to see how Brett Moffitt does. Because dude broke both of his legs in a motocross accident, and he's no, I'm good. Didn't even miss a race. That's crazy. Ryan Newman has his crash. He misses, 3 races. Brett Moffitt breaks 2 legs at the same time, misses none. So I'll be interested to see if he has any aches, pains, if he's sore at all, if they have a relief driver on standby or anything. I'm sure he'll be fine because, he seems to be A-okay, and he was cleared by NASCAR and his own doctor as well over at GMS. So, I mean, he's going to be really fast. He's going to be tough to beat. Kyle Busch obviously is going to be the guy to beat. I'm sure that he'll probably lap the field or something and stink up the show, but that'll be fun to watch as well. I've said for a while, and I think you probably would agree with me, I think the Truck Series is the best racing in all of NASCAR, period. You got a mix of young guys that don't really know what they're doing yet, but don't really give a crap. Then you got a mix of old dudes that know exactly what they're doing and are not going to take the I don't give a crap motto from the young guys. Yeah. And then when they clash, it's just very fun to watch. And for God's sake, they're driving pickup trucks 150 miles an hour. So what's not to like there?
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting way. But all right, Davey, that was an interesting conversation. And one more thing, Brett Moffitt will be in the Xfinity race tonight. Just to let you know.
Okay. Well, thank you for this information. Clearly, I have not done my homework. And after we hang up, I will peruse the entry list and make sure I know who's in what car today.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you, man. But anyway, thank you so much for doing this. And NASCAR is back, and we're all happy again. And hopefully we'll see everybody at the track very, very soon.
That's right. Thanks for having me. Go green.